Hello everyone from Buenos Aires in Argentina, and today we are taking a ferry, the Colonia Express, which will carry us over the Rio de la Plata to Colonia del Sacramento in Uruguay. It's a little bit different from the normal ferry journeys I take, isn't it? But yeah, it's sure to be an interesting and exciting journey. Why don't you come with me? We're going to head to the port, which I believe is kind of in that direction. Got a little bit of walking to do yet, but once we get there we've got to check in and we've got to do all the passports and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm going to show you what it's like, so I'll see you in a little while. Yes, it was a beautiful walk down to the ferry terminal, which you can reach by bus if you're brave enough, but I'd chosen one of the nearest metro stations at Plaza de Mayo, and it was about 1.5 miles from there. And it helps if the weather's nice, of course, and as you can see there are some really good views on the way, as a lot of the old docks have been developed into restaurants and bars. And there's one or two sketchy areas, but overall I felt perfectly safe. Okay, well, we are here, and the what I'm presuming is the foot passenger entrance is just over there, the kind of terminal building, and then just in front of me here is the vehicle check-in area, and there's vehicles turning up already, but they do say on the booking that you must strictly turn up 1 hour and 30 minutes before departure, and that's why I'm here now. So yeah, I guess then it is time to head in and see what it's all about. Come on. Quite a large and smart building this is, you can't miss it, and the entrance is indicated here in Spanish of course, but also English. And once you're inside you've got lots of retail outlets if you need food and drink before your departure. There are toilets and also some seating facilities. Now, I was on the 12:50 lunchtime sailing today, and I'd already bought my ticket online directly with the Colonia Express website. The earlier you book, the cheaper the ticket price. I purchased mine about 2 days before the trip for a cost of 2,445 Uruguayan pesos, which worked out at about £44 or 52 euros. It was a bit fiddly to negotiate the payment page and fill in your details, but it worked out okay in the end, and I received an email confirmation and PDF ticket immediately afterwards. And doing it this way was considerably cheaper than using a third-party app like Direct Ferries, who wanted £69.80, and then even trying to make the purchase in Argentinian pesos was expensive, but there again, that currency is all over the place at the moment, and I would steer well clear of that, to be honest. I queued up on the right here with my passport, and don't forget that, remember, and I'd asked my hotel to print out the PDF confirmation of the ticket beforehand, which I thought was a good idea. Hola. I tried to make an effort to converse a little in Spanish, but the lady who dealt with me spoke perfectly good English, so yeah, everything should be okay in that respect.
When did you arrive to Argentina?
Ooh,
More or less.
like 5 days ago.
Okay, thank you. You can enter through that gate.
Okay, that's us. Yeah, so you're given your actual ticket at this point, and once you're through the embarkation door, you enter another queue. Well, there are kind of two queues, one for nationals and one for foreigners. Although, as the queue got bigger, it didn't really seem to matter, as somebody just directed you to any of the empty passport booths. There's a nice lounge to relax in after all that, along with a fairly pricey coffee shop. Oh right, so what would you call it? It's not airside, is it? It's seaside, just through passport control there. I think what happens is you kind of get checked out of Argentina, do your thumbprint and your eye scan or whatever it's called, and then you move on to the Uruguayan passport control, who stamp you into Uruguay. I think that's what happens anyway. But anyway, it's quite a quick and smooth process. And at the moment, yeah, I'm just eating a croissant and waiting to be called to embark. And yeah, looking forward to this. The weather, incidentally, is really nice today, so I'm hoping for some lovely views on the way over. Let's see what happens, shall we? An announcement was made, and there was a large stampede for the escalators. All the boarding decks are on the upper floor of the departures lounge, you see, and today we will be going through gate 3. And after a quick walk down the sea bridge, I'm going to call it, we arrived at the gangway to the ship, which for today's crossing would be the 6-year-old Super Ferry Express. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the ferry later on in the journey, but for now, and as per usual, I just headed out onto deck to take in the surroundings and await our departure. Right guys, so on board the Colonia Express. Super Ferry Express is the name of the ship, as it says on the lifebuoy just down there. The sun's just gone behind a cloud unfortunately, but yeah, actually I'm surprised how much deck space there is on board, which is a great thing. And there is loads to see just out there, down the river I guess. Lots of old shipping and that, which is going to be really exciting departure, isn't it? So yeah, and I'm sure the sun will be out again anytime soon, so yeah, lots of people on board. It's going to be quite a busy crossing, so I'm really looking forward to it now. Half an hour to departure. Most of the cars were already on board, but there were one or two stragglers entering the ship by means of this rather basic looking ramp here, which has obviously seen heavier vehicles than this Chevrolet something or other crossing over it. But that was the last of the cars, and soon enough the ship's ramp was lifted, the lines were taken in, and we began to reverse away from the dock. And I couldn't help noticing this old ferry here, which has been turned into a floating casino. And I'm not sure it's seaworthy anymore, but yeah, it reminded me a bit of some of the old ferries on the crossing I made to Penang in Malaysia a couple of years back. I'll link to that video here if you're interested. Now incidentally, the other Colonia Express ship you can see here moored up is the HSC Atlantic Express, a slightly larger vessel than ours, but not as quick. Our ferry now has to perform a 180-degree turn in the really tight space of the Rio da Sena Sur here, and it eventually faces out to sea with views of the many ships moored up on each side of the river. Another, much smaller Colonia Express vessel was moored up here, but I'm not sure which one it is, as there is no name on the side. If you've got any ideas, please let me know in the comments below. And there we were on our way, and as you can see I remained on the open deck at the front of the ferry for now, which was a really good space, and it makes a massive difference I think to be able to see where you're going and to be outside at the same time. And just wait until we start to accelerate. It's a pretty exhilarating feeling being here, I can tell you. For now we maintain slow progress down the river past the many ships moored up on either side, and most of them appear to be in use and carrying all sorts of varying cargoes I would imagine to and from the extensive dockyards here. It's a bit of an odd location, the ferry terminal really, but I guess it's well protected from the elements, although the river itself, well, yeah, it's not the cleanest river I've ever seen to be honest. And as the river widens, larger ships appear, like the San Julian here, an oil tanker registered in Argentina. If you love ships of all types and sizes, this ferry is the one for you. As soon as we left the confines of the port, we were able to increase our speed considerably. I moved to one of the decks on the stern to watch the Buenos Aires skyline disappearing, and as we motored out onto the brown waters of the Rio de la Plata estuary, the River Plate if you like, it was time to nip inside and have a little bit of a look around the ship. Alright then guys, so as you can probably hear and tell, we've started to put our foot down a little bit. So yeah, we're hitting open seas. I think at this point in the crossing it's probably a good idea to just have a bit of an explore of the ship to see what it's got to offer. What I'm going to do, if you see this here, what I normally do is I'll strap the camera onto this little clip here, go for a wander, and yeah, see what we can see. Come on. Well, entering from this door here near to the stern, you have a kind of a lobby area where there is a currency exchange booth to your right, in between the toilets. Now, as the Argentine peso is a bit flaky, and I believe it doesn't exchange all that well with the Uruguayan peso, which is a much more stable currency. Now, I'm in the shop now, which is quite large for a ship of this size, and it sells all the usual stuff like cigarettes, perfume and alcohol, but it's all tax-free because we're between borders at this point. But I didn't buy anything, but I understand the shop also takes US dollars and the Brazilian real in addition to the local currencies. Quite a busy crossing this, as you can see. I'm heading down the starboard side where there is some airline style seating, and then into the forward lounge on this lower deck where there is much more seating, including a few table seats. There is also access to the outside deck space at the front of the ship. And amidships there are steep stairs to the upper deck here where you will find a small and again busy cafe. This is the only source for food and drink on the ship, other than the shop of course, but the queues weren't too bad, and for most I think it was a case of get what you want and then take it back to your seat. Now behind the cafe bar was more airline style seating. Half this area had windows and half didn't. And behind that was access to more open deck space at the stern and sides of the ship. In fact, the outside deck space really was the best feature of the Super Ferry Express. A shame about this craze of putting stickers over everything is rife, but yeah, apart from that, there are some nice areas outside, a little bit exposed to the elements, but certainly the quietest places on the ship, and definitely the best views. As you can see, we're not far from the Uruguayan coast now, and isn't it such a contrast between the rich blue skies and the muddy brown waters of the Rio de la Plata? And why is that? Well, it lies at the confluence of the Uruguay River and the Parana River at Punta Gorda. These two rivers are 1,142 and 1,582 miles long respectively, and bring with them vast amounts of sediments that turn the water brown as far as its eastern reaches and the Uruguayan capital Montevideo. And you can see this more easily on this photo from NASA here, and for context I've drawn a rough line of our crossing in red. And is it actually a river at all? Well, it can also be thought of as an estuary, a gulf or a marginal sea, but if it is considered a river, well, it's the widest one in the world at its eastern end, with a width of 140 miles. And I could go on, but this is primarily a transport channel, and our current method of transportation is soon to be docking at the port of Colonia del Sacramento, which is itself a fascinating place. We actually passed the other ferry in the current Colonia Express fleet here, the Colonia Express 2. It's a much smaller ferry than the others, but you can still get cars on it, 19 in fact. And by the way guys, I normally post lots of photos of these trips on my Ko-fi and YouTube members pages. I have some amazing shipping photos from this trip I'll be posting up, and I also write blogs, updates and provide other exclusive content. If you're interested in having a look, there's a QR code at the end of this video, and there are links in the description below, and thank you very much for your support. The lines are thrown ashore, and it looks like he's done that a few times. Now we head towards another ropey looking vehicle disembarkation point, but we don't use this one. The vehicles are driven straight off the stern of the ferry via another ramp. And foot passengers disembark by means of another gangway at the side of the ship, and then it's a quick walk into another large and modern terminal building. No passport checks of course, that's already been done back in Buenos Aires. There is however some bag screening, which I found to be quite common in this part of the world. Now when you book your ticket, you do have the option of going to Montevideo, but at over 100 miles away, the Uruguayan capital is nowhere near the port here. But Colonia Express do have their own coaches, and travel on these is included in your ticket if you choose that option. I mean, it's a good couple of hours or more down there, and I think it makes sense for people living in Montevideo or the surrounding areas to use this service rather than day trippers like me. But instead, myself and a few others were heading for Colonia del Sacramento itself, which you can just walk to from the terminal building. And if you like historic railway infrastructure, you're in for a real treat here. Heading for the Tourist Information Centre, you pass a building on your left that looks like an old engine shed, the kind of building you get off a railway turntable. And sure enough, here it is. Though the railway has long since disappeared, this area has been preserved, and as you head towards the town itself, you're actually walking down where the old tracks would have been. There's Colonia railway station here, which has also been preserved, and okay, it's a shame the railway no longer runs, but nevertheless, it is a really interesting place to look around. The way into this historic old town, well on foot anyway, is along this walkway, over the drawbridge and through the gate here. Now at this point, it really does feel a world away from Buenos Aires. Right then guys, Colonia, Uruguay. Hope you can hear me above the bird noise. But yeah, it's a beautiful place, this is. I've had a little bit of an opportunity to wander around and yeah, just have a little look at, take in the scenery. It's fantastic. What did you think of the Colonia Express? Yeah, for me, it's one of these fast craft things, isn't it? And sometimes you feel like you're confined indoors, but not on this vessel. There was so much outdoor space. I mean, the deck space outside, that really made the trip for me. It's not the cheapest ferry ticket I've ever bought, but it's a great day out from Buenos Aires. And so if you're over in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, and you get the opportunity, then yeah, I would say go for it. It's a really good day out. It's a fantastic destination, and you can come here and back in a day. Absolutely no trouble at all. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to catch you on another adventure soon. And as always guys, until the next time, cheers for now.